Walk into a real medieval tavern and forget everything the movies showed you. This is not some cozy fireplace with a friendly barkeep. This is a pit. A sweating, stinking, suffocating hole where the floor squishes under your feet, the smoke claws at your lungs, and every single person in here is calculating whether you are worth robbing. The dice never stop. The knives never sleep. And the sickness floating through this air will kill more people tonight than any sword. This is where empires crumble over spilled drinks, where fortunes vanish between sunset and sunrise, where bodies go cold in corners and nobody asks questions. If you walked in here thinking this was just a place to grab a drink, you have already made your first mistake. Tonight, we are kicking that door wide open and staying until the sun comes up. You are going to smell what these rooms actually smelled like. You are going to taste the drinks that kept peasants alive while rotting them from the inside. You are going to meet the people who owned these shadows. The tavern keepers bleeding every coin from desperate men. The soldiers with nothing left to lose. The priests hiding sins darker than the rooms they preached against. The women trapped in a game they never agreed to play. And the cutthroats who could empty your pockets and open your throat before you finished your sentence. You are going to sit at tables where a single dice roll destroyed entire families. You are going to stand in the middle of chaos and watch how one wrong word turns laughter into murder. And when morning finally breaks through those filthy windows, you are going to count the bodies. Because everyone who walks into a place like this pays a price. Everyone. Before we cross that threshold together, drop your city and country in the comments. I want to know where you are watching from right now. If this kind of history gets under your skin the way it should, subscribe now and help this channel keep digging into the darkness. You are on Ancestral, and there is no history channel on Earth that goes this deep. You push that door open, and the first thing that hits you is not the sound. It is the smell. It crashes into your face like a wall. Hot, wet, heavy. Sweat and smoke and sour beer and something rotting underneath it all. It fills your lungs so thick you can almost chew it. Your eyes start burning. Your chest gets tight. For 1 second, you think about spinning around and walking right back into the freezing, garbage-filled street. But you have been walking since sunrise. Your legs are screaming. You are starving, drenched, and exhausted. So you step inside. The ceiling practically sits on your head. You could reach up and scrape your knuckles on those blackened beams. Decades of smoke have turned them the color of old bones. Hanging from them, you see dried meat, bundles of herbs, ropes of onions, and shapes you pray you never see clearly. Every surface is slick with something. Every shadow hides something worse. You hear boots stomping, benches scraping, someone cackling too loud and too long, a man hacking up his lungs like he is dying where he sits. A dog snarls somewhere in the dark. Someone gags in a corner. The floor is not a floor. In most places like this, it is just packed earth covered with old rushes, dead grass thrown down to soak up whatever spills. The owners are supposed to swap them out regularly. They never do. Those rushes sit there for weeks, months. Ale and wine and sweat and vomit and grease sink into them and rot. Dead vermin, bones from last week's meals, scraps of bread gone hard as stone, broken teeth someone spit out after a fight. Your boot sinks into a soft spot. Then it crunches through something dry. The fancy places have wooden boards. Sounds clean. It is not. Those planks are black with old stains nobody can identify anymore. You see knife marks everywhere. gouges in the tables, slashes on the floor where fights ended ugly, deep cracks where chairs got smashed over skulls, where tankards missed faces and buried themselves in timber instead. If you look hard enough, you can still see dried blood in the grain. Nobody ever scrubbed it properly. The walls are no better. Most of these buildings are wattle and daub, thin branches woven together, smeared over with mud and straw and animal dung. It blocks the wind. It does nothing for the damp. In winter, water beads up inside and runs down like the building is sweating. In summer, the walls bake and throw the heat right back at you. Grease and soot coat everything. What used to be pale brown is now slick black. Here and there, someone tried to make it look civilized. A rough painting of a saint watching over the room. A panel showing some king on a horse. A crude shield with a lion or a cross. In the rougher places, if the owner does not care what the church thinks, you might see other pictures. Bodies tangled together. Drinking games. Dirty jokes scratched into the wood, where no priest will ever look. Light is survival in here. The main fire burns in a pit in the center, or roars against one wall. The flames throw orange and red across every face and cut deep shadows that twist when people move. A man smiling in that light looks like he is baring his teeth. An old woman squinting suddenly looks like something out of a nightmare. That fire is everything. It heats the stew. It dries wet cloaks. It keeps you from freezing to death when winter bites. It is also a killer waiting to happen. One spark hits dry thatch, and the whole place becomes a grave. Candles flicker on tables. Oil lamps gutter on shelves. Their light barely pushes back the dark. Tallow candles made from animal fat put out greasy smoke that mixes with everything else choking the air. There is no proper chimney. The smoke climbs up, hits the ceiling, and spreads out like fog. Eventually it leaks through cracks in the roof or a hole cut in the thatch. Until then, everyone breathes it. Newcomers choke. Regulars do not even notice anymore. You stand there blinking, eyes watering, waiting for shapes to separate from the gloom. Slowly, faces emerge. At one table, merchants lean in close and talk fast. Their clothes are better than everyone else here. Dyed fabrics, fur at the collar, purses fat enough to draw attention. One hand grips their cup. The other never leaves their money. Near the fire, soldiers in worn cloaks sit hunched over their drinks. Mud from the road still crusts their boots. One has a scar across his face so fresh it is still pink. Their blades rest against the bench within easy reach. They laugh when something strikes them funny, but go silent the instant anyone gets too close. They look relaxed. They are not. They are cataloging every threat, every opportunity, every weakness in the room. Against the wall, pilgrims cluster together. Badges from holy places dangle from their cloaks. Shells from distant shrines. Tin tokens stamped with saints. Some mutter prayers and clutch their rosaries tight. Others drink hard and make eyes at the serving girls. Not everyone wearing those badges earned them honestly. Tradesmen sit in tight groups. A blacksmith with burns scarring his hands. A tanner whose clothes announce his profession before he opens his mouth. A weaver with ink stains on his fingers from tallying orders. They argue about guild business, contracts delayed, payments promised and never delivered. Their voices rise and fall with the clinking of their cups. And then there are the ones who look like they grew out of the furniture. Locals with faces carved by time, teeth missing, eyes that have watched famine and plague and war pass through like weather. When they laugh, there is no warmth in it. They live next door to death, and they stopped being surprised a long time ago. Holding all of this together by sheer will is the tavern keeper, usually a big man, arms thick from hauling barrels and throwing out anyone who crosses him. His apron tells the story of 100 spilled meals. His shirt hangs open. Sweat shines on his skin from standing near that fire since noon. He knows every face. He remembers who paid, who owes, who makes trouble but spends enough to be worth it, who starts fights without ever buying a drink. His word inside these walls carries more weight than any bailiff. He decides who gets served and who gets turned away, who gets dragged outside and dumped in the mud. If it suits him, he decides what crimes get reported to the law and what simply disappears beneath a fresh layer of rushes. If he has a wife, she runs half this operation herself. She cooks. She counts the money. She watches the door. She swats away drunk hands that reach where they should not. A wooden spoon in her grip can crack ribs hard enough to make a point. She listens more than she talks. She knows who is cheating whom, who plans to skip town, who got paid today, and who is one bad night from doing something desperate. She is the one you should actually fear. This room looks lawless. It is not chaos. It runs on rules older than any king's law. Here your bloodline matters less, and your behavior matters more. A poor man who pays what he owes and keeps his mouth shut will always find a seat. A rich man who insults the wrong person will be carried out feet first. Every night, status gets renegotiated with money, drink, fists, and fear. But before you ever set foot in a place like this, you have to pick which door to push open. Because in the medieval world, not every drinking hole is the same. Choose wrong, and you might sleep in a bed crawling with parasites, pay triple what you should, or wake up in an alley with your skull cracked open. At the top sits the inn. This is the closest thing to real lodging. Built for travelers, food, drink, a stable for your horse, and somewhere meant for sleeping. The best ones are stone buildings with an upper floor, maybe even a courtyard. They stand near city gates, at river crossings, along the roads everyone travels. Step inside a good inn and you notice the difference immediately. Sturdier construction, a painted sign outside with a beast, or a saint or something you recognize. The crowd is better dressed. Merchants, couriers, pilgrims with actual money. You might see decent tableware. In rare cases, actual glass in the windows. But comfort only goes so far. Privacy, the way you understand it, does not exist. You pay for a space, not a room. You and a dozen strangers might share the same bed. One mattress, multiple bodies. If you are smart, you sleep with your boots on, your belt tight, and your money pressed against your skin. If you are not, you wake up missing things. Those beds are wooden frames strung with rope or leather straps. On top sits a heavy sack stuffed with straw or feathers or whatever was cheap that year. It is almost never changed. Vermin live in it. Fleas, lice, bed bugs that feed on you all night. No one has any way to kill them. No one has any way to wash properly. You scratch, you suffer, or you give up and sleep on the floor. The noise never stops. Men snore like dying animals. Someone talks in his sleep. Another coughs so hard you wonder if he will see morning. You smell unwashed bodies piled together, damp wool. The chamber pot in the corner nobody emptied. But for most travelers, this is still better than sleeping outside where thieves or wolves or worse will find you. Below the inn sits the tavern. Its purpose is wine, not the common drink. The expensive imported stuff that marks you as someone with money. Wine in medieval Europe means status. It comes from far away. French vineyards, German valleys, southern lands where the sun actually shines. Getting it to a northern city means ships, taxes, middlemen, bribes. That makes it expensive. Inside a wine tavern, you hear foreign accents. You see careful clothing. The men here might be wealthy, which makes them targets. They drink from cups that might be pewter or silver. They argue about shipping costs and royal taxes and who owes what to whom. Record-keeping matters. Barrels are counted. Seals are checked. Volumes are measured. Because wine is valuable, it is watched. City officials worry about fraud. Tavern keepers are always tempted to water down the good stuff, blend cheap with expensive or fake entire barrels with things that should never touch a human mouth. Getting caught means public shame. Stocks. Pillories. The ruined barrel poured over your head while the crowd cheers. To stop the scams, customers can demand proof. If a buyer has doubts, he can ask to see the actual barrel in the cellar. That is why many taverns have deep, cool rooms underground lined with casks. Down there, away from the noise, the real treasure of the house sits quietly aging. Officials known for testing quality might drop by, taste, and announce their verdict in the street. A tavern praised by name thrives. One condemned publicly dies within the season. Over time, many wine taverns expand. They add food, bread, cheese, stews. They start stocking cider or mead. If business is good, they rent out sleeping space. Now the lines blur. Is this a tavern or an inn? For the customer, these labels matter less than one thing: price. At the bottom of the ladder sits the alehouse. This is often just someone's home turned semi-public. A woman brews more ale than her family needs and sells the rest. She hangs a branch or a broom or a rag outside her door. That is the signal. No painted sign. Just a message to the neighborhood. Fresh ale here. Ale is the drink of the common people. Children drink it. Workers drink it. Old people drink it. Everyone drinks it because regular water can kill you. The alehouse is local. Everyone knows everyone. Names, families, debts, secrets. The room is small. The fire is modest. 1 or 2 tables at most. But for the street, this place is the center of everything. The alewife is host and judge rolled into one. She gives credit to people she trusts. She turns away the ones who always promise to pay next week. She knows who beats his wife, who steals from his employer, who plans to skip town without paying what he owes. If you want to understand that neighborhood, you talk to her first. Even these humble places are watched by the law. Authorities set prices and quality standards through rules like the assize of bread and ale. The cost of ale is tied to the cost of grain. Officials called ale tasters or ale conners wander from place to place, sampling what is sold. If they find weak brew or someone charging too much, punishment follows fast. Stocks, pillories, ducking stools that drop the offender into freezing water again and again while the crowd howls with laughter. So, you have to choose. Do you head for the Stone Inn and pay extra for a bed crawling with parasites? Do you step into the wine tavern and risk your money among sharp-eyed merchants and professional gamblers? Or do you duck into the cramped alehouse where everyone knows everyone, and you, as a stranger, stand out like a fire in the dark? Choose wrong and you lose your possessions, your health, your life. Choose right, and you still face one final question. What do you actually put in your mouth in a world where the water itself is a death sentence? That is where we are going next. Because behind every drink on these tables hides a brutal truth. In medieval Europe, alcohol is not entertainment. It is the thin, desperate line between surviving another day and dying before sunrise. You drop onto a splintered bench, and before you can catch your breath, someone asks the only question that matters in here. What are you drinking? You might think the smart answer is water. In this world, that is the fastest way to die. The river outside is not just a river. It is where the entire city dumps its filth. Waste, laundry, carcasses stripped and rinsed, chamber pots emptied straight in. Tanners soak their hides there. Dyers flush their poisons into it. Butchers let the blood run down the gutters and into the current. Wells are sunk too close to burial pits and cesspools. Rain barrels grow green with slime and wriggle with larvae. Nobody has ever heard the word bacteria, but everyone knows one thing. Drink that water raw, and your insides will tear themselves apart. That is why the table in front of you is covered with cups. Ale, wine, cider, mead. Drinks that might keep you alive. Alcohol is not pleasure here. It is medicine. It is survival. Children drink weak ale. Old women drink it. Laborers drink it at dawn, at noon, at sundown. A day without drink is not sobriety. It is suicide by ignorance. Most of what you see in an ordinary tavern is ale. Forget what you imagine. No golden liquid sparkling in a clean glass. Medieval ale is thick and cloudy and warm and full of things floating in it. It is closer to food than drink. Ale begins in the fields. Barley is harvested, soaked in water until it sprouts, then dried over heat. This turns the starch into sugar. The malt gets crushed and mixed with hot water. That produces a sweet liquid called wort. In a world without thermometers, brewers judge the temperature with their bare hands and years of instinct. Too hot, and the yeast dies. Too cold, and nothing ferments. Yeast itself is a mystery. Nobody knows it is alive. There are no packets from a shop. No cultures grown in a laboratory. Wild yeasts drift in from the open air and cling to old wooden tools. They invade the wort and start converting sugar into alcohol and gas. Sometimes they cooperate. Sometimes they do not. The result can be smooth and drinkable or sour enough to make you wince. In many regions, people still use an old mixture of herbs called gruit instead of hops. They throw in bog plants, yarrow, heather, whatever grows nearby. These change the flavor. They also change the effect. Some of those plants calm you down. Others make you twitchy, hostile, dizzy. Every household guards its own secret recipe. The alewife usually runs this operation. Brewing is not a pastime. It is survival work. A good alewife earns loyalty. Her neighbors come back. They spread her name. A bad alewife becomes a target for jokes and punishments. Fresh ale does not last. Within days, it starts going sour and strange. That means brewing never stops. Buckets and tubs and barrels sit in every corner at different stages. The air in a brewing house smells of wet grain and active fermentation. The floors are slick. The fire never goes out. The work is hot and endless. Each batch is divided by strength. The first liquid off the mash is the strongest ale. Later runnings make weaker small beer with barely any kick, but still safer than water. Children and workers drink this stuff all day long. The strong ale gets sold or saved for occasions that matter. Ale is cheaper than wine, but still watched by authorities. Grain prices determine everything. When harvests fail, people starve. So officials set fixed prices for ale based on what grain costs. They also demand minimum strength. Inspectors arrive without warning. They taste, they judge. If the ale is weak or overpriced, punishment follows fast. Men get locked in stocks. Women get strapped into ducking chairs and plunged into freezing water while the neighborhood watches and laughs. The crowd loves it. The message is impossible to miss. Cheat your customers, and you become the show. Wine is a different world entirely. If ale belongs to the many, wine is the liquid mark of power, religion, and money. It flows through churches and royal courts and the homes of the wealthy. The barrels in this tavern might have crossed oceans. They might come from southern France, from the valleys of the Rhine, from Iberian vineyards baked by foreign sun. Every step of that journey costs coin. Harvesters, carters, sailors, port officials, tax collectors. Middlemen who skim at every turn. By the time a barrel reaches the cellar of an English tavern, its contents are worth far more than the same volume of ale. Wine merchants can become rich. They build networks that stretch across kingdoms. They speak multiple languages. They know which noble family is at war, which tax just doubled, which harbor is blockaded. Wine is not just a drink. It is intelligence. It is leverage. Inside the tavern, wine pours from barrel to jug to cup. Strong, sour, sweet, dark, pale. There is no single type. Some wines are made to age and improve. Others are simple and best young. Barrels can leak. Contents can spoil. Good wine can turn to vinegar overnight. Fraud is everywhere. Crooked sellers water down quality stock. They blend cheap and expensive and sell the result as premium. They color pale wines to look richer. They mask spoiled wine with honey or spices. Some fake entire barrels by mixing garbage liquids with additives that mimic taste and color. City authorities try to keep pace. Quality officials taste and rate what is sold. They announce prices and origins in the streets. Their word can save or destroy a tavern. Merchants caught cheating face fines and public shame. They might end up locked in a pillory while their own fraudulent wine is poured over their head, their product turned into their punishment. But wine still pulls people in. For many drinkers, one cup is not about flavor. It is about feeling important for a moment. It is about imitating the habits of priests and nobles and kings. Then there is mead. Mead is honey, water, and yeast. Sounds simple, but honey is not cheap. Bees must be kept or honey bought from those who risk stings and theft to collect it. Honey is needed for medicine, for candles, for sweetening food. That makes mead a luxury. In northern lands, people associate it with warriors and great feasts and moments worth remembering. Brewers dissolve honey in water, heat it, let it ferment. They might add spices or herbs or fruit. Some meads are heavy and strong enough to burn going down. Others are lighter and sweeter. Long-aged meads develop complexity, but aging requires space and patience. Only some households can afford either. You might find mead in a respectable tavern on a holy day, or in a trading city with good connections. In poor places it is rare. When it appears, people treat it with respect. Cider and perry fill the middle ground in orchard country. Where apple trees cover the hills, crushed fruit ferments almost as naturally as grain brews. Apples are pressed. The juice is stored in barrels. Yeasts take over. The result can be mild or strong enough to knock down men who drink ale all day. Perry, made from pears, follows the same path. These drinks taste like the land they come from. In some regions, they appear at every table. In others, they are exotic and expensive. Supply depends on the season. A good autumn brings plenty. A bad year brings scarcity. Finding them on a tavern menu is both a hint and a temptation. All of these drinks share the same problems. They are unpredictable. Without controlled yeast strains or accurate measuring tools or sealed vessels, every batch is different. One barrel might be smooth and easy to drink. The next might be harsh and twice as strong. You can misjudge badly and end up far more drunk than you planned. They are not clean. Boiling for ale and mead kills many threats, but not all. Barrels and cups are rarely scrubbed the way you would expect. Wild organisms, mold, and grime cling to every surface. Drinking these is healthier than drinking raw water, but safe is not the right word. And they are addictive in every way that matters. A laborer aches at the end of a brutal day. Ale dulls the pain. A soldier haunted by what he has seen drinks until the memories fade. A woman working from dawn to dark finds her only rest is a stolen cup in a quiet corner. The line between staying hydrated and escaping reality disappears fast. After a few cups, your stomach growls. The tavern keeper notices. Food in this room is not meant to impress. It is meant to fill you and keep you spending. At the center of many tavern kitchens sits a massive pot. Inside is pottage, the standard stew of this age. There is no recipe. The cook throws in water or broth or whatever liquid is handy, adds grain, adds vegetables, adds whatever scraps of meat or bone are available. The pot sits on the fire for hours. In some places, it never fully cools. New ingredients go in as old portions are ladled out. The base is cheap grain, barley, oats, cracked wheat. These thicken the liquid and deliver calories. They simmer until they dissolve and turn the broth into heavy mush. Vegetables follow. Onions, leeks, cabbage, turnips, carrots. Whatever is in season or can be stored. In autumn, the choices are wide. In late winter, they shrink to shriveled roots and preserved cabbage gone soft. The cook trims the obvious rot and throws the rest in. Heat hides many sins. Meat, when you get it, is rarely the best cut. It can be old, tough, or from an animal that was already sick. The wealthy buy prime portions at market. Taverns get what is left. Feet, heads, organs, gristle. Long boiling softens everything and blends it into the stew. The taste can be acceptable. The reality behind it is less pleasant. Sometimes the meat did not die in a planned way. A cow or pig that collapses suddenly might still be butchered out of desperation. That meat might not reach respectable kitchens. It can end up in a tavern pot. Hours of heat kill many dangers. Not every problem cooks away. During church fasting seasons, fish replaces meat. Fresh fish is rare far from coasts or major rivers. Most fish in landlocked taverns is salted, dried, or smoked until it is hard as wood. You have to soak it and cook it for hours to make it edible. The texture is tough, the flavor intense and often unpleasant, but it keeps people fed. Salt is precious and often taxed. It preserves meat and fish. That means preserved foods are packed with it. Eating them makes you even thirstier. You order more drink. The tavern keeper profits twice over. Bread sits beside your bowl. In a wealthy house, you might see fresh white loaves. Here you get coarse brown bread made from mixed grains. It can be days old, hard at the edges, flecked with bits of husk and grit from primitive milling. Bread often serves as your plate. Thick slices called trenchers are set on the table. Stew and meat get piled on top. By the end of the meal, the bread has soaked up fat and broth and sauce. You can eat it or leave it. In some places, the scraps go to the poor. In others, they go right back into the pot. Cheese appears sometimes. It can be fresh and soft, meant to be eaten quickly, or hard and aged, sturdy enough to travel. Quality depends on the animals, the cleanliness of the process, the skill of the maker. A good cheese is a treasure. A bad one smells like decay and tastes like a punishment. Eggs can be boiled or fried or cracked straight into the stew, but they spoil fast when it is warm. There is no refrigeration. One bad egg can ruin the whole pot and send half the room running to the latrine. The kitchen itself is a hazard. Nobody understands cross-contamination. Raw meat sits on the same board as bread. Knives move from butchering to slicing without being cleaned. Hands are wiped on aprons, not washed with soap and hot water. Flies land wherever they want. Serving is communal. You share bowls, trenchers, spoons, and cups with strangers. Everyone dips into the same dishes. A man with a rattling cough, an open wound, a disease no one can name, shares utensils without hesitation. The tavern is a perfect incubator for sickness to jump from body to body. And yet for many people at your table, this is the best meal they will eat all week. A thick hot stew, coarse bread, a wedge of cheese, and a cup of ale can mean the difference between working tomorrow and collapsing in the street. It means warmth in your gut, in a cold, damp climate. In cities where space is tight and fuel is expensive, many people have no hearth large enough to cook a real meal every day. They depend on taverns for their main hot food. The tavern keeper understands this perfectly. Food is not a side business. It is a weapon. Price it too high, and customers drift away. Keep it just low enough, and they stay longer, eat more, drink more, talk more, gamble more. While you chew, you listen. At the next table, merchants whisper about a shipment that just arrived. Behind you, two builders argue about wages they never received. By the fire, a soldier tells a story about a battle that leaves his audience frozen. A serving girl passes with a tray balanced high, weaving between legs and puddles of spilled drink with practiced ease. Her eyes never stop moving, counting faces, reading moods. Your bowl empties. Your cup is filled again and again. Your shoulders drop. The noise around you blurs into a single roar. In the corner, a man places a pair of dice on the table with a casual motion that is not casual at all. Someone else slaps down a few coins. Another man leans in to watch. The food has done its job. You are warm. You are full. Your guard is coming down. Now the real games start. Not just dice and wagers. Games of reputation. Games of pride. Games of desire and debt and blood. Because in this room, once the eating and drinking are done, the night always splits in two directions. You either walk out on your own feet, or you get carried. The man with the dice does not announce himself. He does not call for attention. He simply places them on the table and waits. Coins appear. Knuckles tap the wood. Someone mutters that he feels lucky tonight. Two more men drag their stools closer. You hear the hollow click of bone dice knocking together inside the gambler's palm. That sound cuts through everything else in the room. This is where fortunes disappear. Medieval taverns run on games. Dice, early cards, bets on fights, bets on anything that breathes. The church screams that gambling is a sin. Authorities pass laws and issue bans. None of it matters when money lands on the table. The favorite is dice. 2 or 3 cubes, simple rules, infinite ways to destroy yourself. A common version works like this. One player calls a target number, then tries to roll it before hitting certain losing combinations. Others bet on whether he succeeds. Side wagers pile up. Will he throw doubles? Will he fail within 3 attempts? Will the next man beat his total? No printed rulebook, no official house. Every tavern plays its own version. The only constant is this: the longer you stay at the table, the more likely you leave with nothing. Watch the dice closely. They are not always honest. Some are shaved on one side. Some are weighted with lead. Some have numbers carved twice. A skilled cheat can twist his wrist just enough to guide the outcome without making it obvious. The real professionals do not win big all at once. They win small, steadily, across many nights in many towns. They lose on purpose sometimes to look harmless. They joke. They act drunk. They act offended when anyone suggests there might be cheating at this table. They move on before the pattern becomes too clear. Cards are newer, but spreading fast. The decks are not standardized. Suits, pictures, and rules change from region to region. Some games reward sequences. Others reward combinations. People are already marking cards, stacking decks, and dealing from the bottom. If you get caught, the argument that follows can turn fatal before anyone finishes a sentence. Not all gambling needs equipment. Some men wager on how long a person can keep drinking before he collapses. Others bet on arm wrestling, fistfights, or who can stick a knife closest to a mark on the wall. Owners with money and space might host animal blood sports. Roosters tearing at each other. Dogs locked in a pit. In rougher or richer places, even bulls or bears chained to posts, while hounds attack and men scream and wave money. The pattern always repeats. At first, everyone laughs. Then, the stakes climb. One man who should have quit 3 rounds ago demands one more game. That last game is usually the one that costs him his cloak, his boots, his tools, or his horse. Debt here is dangerous. Gambling debts are not always protected by official law, but they are enforced by something more immediate: fists, blades, and the promise of future payback. A man who refuses to pay might be beaten, ambushed later on the road, or marked as untrustworthy in every tavern on that route. While the gamblers focus on the table, others watch them. In one dark corner, a thief studies the crowd. He tracks who flashes heavy coin, who wins big, who storms out furious. He notes how drunk each man is, which door he will use, whether he has friends nearby. A skilled pickpocket does not just bump and grab. He runs a calculation in his head in a few heartbeats. Some thieves work alone. Others move in teams. One accidentally spills drink on a target or stumbles into him. Another apologizes and helps brush off the mess while nimble fingers slice the purse string or dip into the cloak. By the time the victim notices anything missing, he might be miles down the road or buried in his hangover. Many of these criminals do not look like criminals. One dresses as a minor clerk with ink stains and tidy clothes. Another passes for a traveling tradesman. A third plays the loud drunk who draws attention while his quieter partner works behind backs. Women are not just bystanders in this underworld. Some serving girls tip off their lovers or brothers when a rich, careless stranger sits down. Some prostitutes quietly report which clients carry extra coin or valuable items. Others play both sides, warning the tavern keeper about dangerous men in exchange for protection. But for countless women in medieval taverns, danger is not a sideline. It is woven into the work itself. Prostitution and taverns are bound together. Officially, the church condemns paid sex. In practice, many towns tolerate it or even regulate it. Authorities decide that keeping prostitution inside certain areas prevents worse crimes elsewhere. Some cities license brothels. In other places, taverns quietly become the main meeting point between men with money and women with no other path. The women in these rooms rarely choose to be here. Poverty pushes them. A dead husband, no dowry, no family to support them, children who need to eat. a reputation destroyed by assault or seduction. Once a woman crosses that line, society often refuses to let her back. Marriage prospects vanish. Work that pays enough to live on becomes almost impossible to find. Inside the tavern, every step is a calculation. She has to judge who is violent, who is generous, who is cheap but safe, who is wealthy and dangerous. She must flatter some men, turn away others without triggering rage, and read moods faster than anyone else in the building. Arrangements with the tavern keeper vary. Some women rent a bed or a back room and keep most of what they earn. Others receive a small cut, while most money goes to the owner. The worst situations trap women in debt. The cost of food, bed, and clothes gets written on a tally. The numbers keep growing. The idea of ever clearing that slate becomes a cruel joke. Violence is constant. There is no real enforcement inside these walls. If a client refuses to pay, who will collect on her behalf? The tavern keeper might step in if the man is known troublemaker and not worth the risk. Or he might tell her to accept the loss and keep working. If a client beats her, she may be blamed for provoking him. Disease is another silent killer. Nobody understands infection. There is no reliable protection. Sexually transmitted sickness spreads easily in this environment. Some cause sores and pain. Others destroy joints, vision, or the mind over years. Many women die young after lives spent in this trade, their bodies exhausted and infected beyond repair. Pregnancy is common. Birth control is unreliable and often dangerous. Herbs used to prevent or end pregnancy can poison the mother. Carrying a child to term is no guarantee of survival either. Childbirth in the medieval world is a leading cause of death. Yet even here, not everything is misery. Some women carve out fragile power. A clever prostitute with loyal customers can choose who she sees. She can gather secrets. Who is planning a risky venture? Who is cheating on his wife? Who is plotting a crime? Men talk freely in bed. Information slips out. A smart woman can use this knowledge to protect herself or improve her position. A few, with rare luck and skill, eventually become madams, running their own houses and leaving direct sex work behind. But this is a hard, narrow path. Most never reach the end of it. As the night deepens, drink erodes judgment. The boundary between a joking insult and a killing offense fades. In a medieval honor culture, words carry weight. If someone calls you a cheat, a coward, or questions your family, that stain follows you. Men fight to keep their names clean. A man known to back down becomes an easy target later in business and daily life. So watch how fast it happens. One player accuses another of loaded dice. The accused laughs at first. Then his smile dies when he realizes everyone at the table is watching. He cannot let the charge stand. He rises, hand tight on his knife. Voices climb, chairs scrape. Other tables turn to look. The tavern keeper senses the shift. He knows this pattern. He sets down the jug and steps closer, eyes on the men, weighing his choices. Move too early, and he angers paying customers. Move too late, and blood hits his floor. The first shove lands. A cup spills. Someone curses. A chair crashes over. In one breath, the fight spreads. The friend of one man rises to help. The rival of another joins in because of a grudge from last week. A drunk who barely knows what started this sees movement and throws a punch just to be part of it. Blades come out. No elegant sword duels. Short, brutal stabs at close range. People grab whatever they can reach. A stool, a jug, a fire poker. Someone hurls a full tankard at a head. If it connects, it can crack bone. Women move fast. Some dive out of the way. Others drag valuable items behind the bar. A few step in with surprising force, swinging ladles or rolling pins at skulls to break up fights that threaten their income. In a packed room, a brawl is pure chaos. You could be trying to stop it and still take a blow from behind. The floor, already slick with spilled drink, becomes treacherous when blood joins the mix. If someone falls and does not get up, there is no pause. Bodies get trampled. Eventually, one of three things ends it. The tavern keeper and his people beat everyone down or throw enough bodies outside to break the chain. Local regulars decide the fight is bad for their place and turn on the troublemakers. Or the door bursts open and outside authority steps in. That authority might be a constable with a few helpers. It might be private guards paid by a nearby guild, lord, or church. Or it might be a squad of soldiers more interested in crushing chaos than making fair judgments. Official law in the medieval world is messy. Officers often have wide powers on paper, but weak support in reality. They can arrest people, but catching anyone in a dark, crowded tavern is difficult. Witnesses lie or stay silent. Many people involved in the fight are already gone. If someone lies dead on the floor, things become serious. That body turns a tavern brawl into a legal matter. Who swung the fatal blow? Was it self-defense? Was the victim important? Here, social rank matters more than truth. If a poor stranger dies, there might be a small fine, if anything, and life continues. If a respected local or someone connected to power is killed, authorities push harder. An accused man might be beaten until he confesses, even if he did not land the killing strike. He may face hanging or some other death sentence to show that order exists. The church has its own view. Priests call taverns nests of sin. They warn from the pulpit about drink, lust, and violence. Yet some of those same priests drink in these rooms after dark. Some own property that hosts taverns. Some take confession the next morning from the very people they drank beside the night before. Guilds add another layer. Tavern keepers, brewers, vintners, and innkeepers may belong to organized groups that set rules and protect members. A guild can pressure authorities, defend a member in court, or punish him internally. They care less about moral purity and more about stable business and reputation. Underneath all of this, the strongest law inside the tavern is still the owner's will. He decides whose side he takes in a dispute. He chooses whether to hand a suspect over to officers or claim ignorance. He sets quiet deals with thieves and gamblers. You can operate here, but do not target my regulars, and do not bring too much heat. He pays bribes when needed. He offers free drinks to the right people to keep them friendly. In this web of official rules, church threats, guild codes, and tavern custom, justice is not a clear concept. It bends around money, fear, and connections. Many wrongs are never punished. Some small offenses draw brutal response. The night wears on. The fire burns lower. The songs slow down or fade into mumbling. One by one, people collapse at the table, under benches, on stairs. Some drag themselves upstairs to shared beds. Others stumble into the street, where cold night air hits them harder than any fist. Hour by hour, the tavern shifts from chaos back toward stillness. At dawn, the door opens to a different scene. The air still reeks, but the roar is gone. You see a serving girl sweeping the rushes into piles. Bones, shattered cups, scraps of cloth, and things beyond identification go into buckets. Fresh rushes will cover it all later, burying last night's history under a clean layer. A man lies in the corner, snoring. Someone nudges him with a boot to to make sure he is alive. If he is just drunk, they leave him to wake on his own. If he is bleeding or not breathing, the mood changes. Nobody wants a corpse discovered late. That brings questions. So bodies are moved quickly to a church porch, a family home, the street outside where someone else can find them. The tavern keeper sits with a slate or wax tablet, counting. A barrel that was half full is now nearly empty. That is profit. 2 jugs are broken. That is loss. 1 window is cracked. A bench lost a leg in the brawl. He notes who still owes money from last night. Some names have no faces anymore. Those men are gone. He weighs it all. Profit from drink and food against damage, risk from injuries or death. If the balance favors him, the tavern survives another day. If too many bad nights pile up, he is finished. The women who work here clean themselves as best they can. They cover bruises with cloth and hair. They mend torn dresses. They try to shake off memories of the worst clients, the cold fear of the worst moments. There is no help for it. The only remedy is endurance and the hope that tonight will not be as bad. Out in the town, news spreads. People talk at wells, in markets, at workshops. They say who fought whom, who lost big at dice, who made a fool of himself, who shared a bed with whom. Reputations rise and fall on these stories. A craftsman who paid off a friend's gambling debt might be praised as loyal. A merchant who refused to pay the serving girl might be quietly despised. A pilgrim who drank too much and bragged about fake relics might find doors closed to him. Day passes. Work continues. But already, as the sun climbs, someone is thinking ahead to evening, to the heat of the fire, the taste of drink, the thrill of games, the promise of company, the chance to escape a dull, hard life for a few hours. This is why medieval taverns survive, despite the filth, the danger, and the moral panic surrounding them. They give people what few other places can give all at once: food, drink, shelter, work, information, sex, risk, and escape. The law needs them as listening posts. The church needs them as cautionary examples and sources of guilty donations. Merchants, soldiers, pilgrims, and locals all need them to do business, find work, and hear news. The whole system leans on these smoky rooms, even while pretending to stand above them. Centuries later, the buildings change. Open fires give way to stoves. Dice games move to regulated casinos. Prostitutes work under different laws. Health codes and police patrols reshape public spaces. But if you walk into a crowded bar or club tonight, some things would still feel familiar to that medieval traveler. Strangers still gather to drink away fear and boredom. People still gamble. With money, with reputation, with relationships. Fights still erupt over insults, jealousy, and drunken pride. Workers still burn their wages in one wild night. Owners still balance profit against risk, watching the room with sharp eyes. That is the real legacy of the medieval tavern, not the fantasy image of a cozy inn where heroes sing and toast. The raw, unsettling truth of human beings under pressure, searching for relief in places that both help and destroy them at the same time. So the next time you imagine the Middle Ages, do not stop at castles and cathedrals. Step through the tavern door in your mind. Smell the smoke and sweat. Hear the dice hit the wood. Watch the serving girl dodge a groping hand while she keeps the drinks moving. See the tavern keeper counting coins with one eye on the door. This is where real lives played out. This is where secrets were told, schemes were born, and ordinary people tried to forget, for one evening, how fragile everything was. If you stayed with me all the way to the end, thank you. You just survived an entire medieval night and walked out in one piece. If you want more journeys into the darker corners of history, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Drop a like to tell the algorithm these stories deserve to be seen. And share this video with anyone who still thinks medieval taverns were cozy fantasy inns. They need to see what was really waiting behind that wooden door.